Also, I could quote Arabic scholars who are Muslim who agree with what I'm saying. Dr. Yassin Dutton, he's written an academic paper about this, and he says, look, because of hadith like this that is authentic, we can't say it's just dialects. Because Adam was there at the time of Mecca, and then Abraham, and then Ishmael and Hagar, they rebuilt the Kaaba in Mecca, so it's the mother of all cities, but the mother of all cities is a title that the Jews would have understood for Jerusalem. It's becoming more and more harder to argue for the traditional narrative. You know the Qibla? The face of direction for prayer.
Yeah, it used to be Jerusalem that changed.
People have gone to all the earliest mosques and looked at the archaeology and found out where the earliest Qiblas were pointing towards. Do you know where the earliest ones point to? A place called Petra. No, I mean differences in the text.
The point that I'm getting to talk Jesus was talking
the dialect.
That is what we see. Because
no, they're different recitations of the Quran according to different teachers. You know that. You know that.
You know Arabic.
No.
The words are used interchangeably, bro.
If you ask
the different Quran, okay? They use interchangeably, bro. It has the exact same.
This is the Hafs. This is Fidel Soliman pointing out the word not is not there in Al-Bazari's reading. Al-Bazari was the student of Ibn Kathir, so he literally didn't have the word not, whereas the Hafs version has the word not. So that changes the meaning from Allah would have informed them to Allah would not have informed them.
That's the translation though, look at the Arabic text.
No, yeah, he's translating the Arabic and pointing out in different Arabic readings, the word not in Arabic is not there. This is why you have 10 different Qurans, my friends.
You know the translations are not going to work in Arabic, dialects with that one text, you know that.
Scholars argue about this. Yeah, I mean, like if you go back hundreds of years, the Hafs reading was never the predominant reading. It was a different reading. The Warsh reading was much more popular than the Hafs reading.
Yeah. So I know that different dialects,
but they're not dialects.
Yeah, but half the Warsh, for example, English.
No, you're talking about things like tajweed and like how you pronounce things. You're not talking about actual. No, you're talking about differences in vowels. No, differences in Arabic vowels.
No dialects.
No, vowels. Vowels are not dialects, bro. Bro, I could take a word, take the vowels out, I've changed the word. In Arabic, if I take out the vowels, do I change the words? You know. Come on, you know this, man.
I know that there's different dialects.
So why is this Muslim scholar who works for the Bridges Foundation literally translating a Hafs reading and then in footnotes telling you where the variants are in Arabic?
When you translate, the translation is different or the same?
So in the Arabic, whatever the word not is, that is not there in different Arabic versions.
I get what you're saying, because you know in some translations you have words in brackets. And some
No. This isn't to do with things that are not in the words, no. It's actual Arabic, in the literal writing. If you change the vowels in an Arabic word, you change the word.
I get what you're saying, but...
This is why there are 10 Qurans.
Have you spoken to someone more learned about this topic?
Do speak about... I've spoken to people who are a lot more learned than me, and they basically affirmed it. The way they understand it is, yes, there are 10 different... Well, there's one Quran, but there are 10 qira'at or 10 readings of the Quran that are canonized. They were canonized in the 15th century, by the way. Before that, it was 7, not 10. So that's problematic. But these qira'at don't go back to Muhammad. And we know they don't go back to Muhammad because they're in the Quran or the Sunnah. In any Sunnah, there is not any narration that says Muhammad told you there will be 10 different qira'at of the Quran.
No, like hadith.
There's no hadith. What Muhammad says is there are 7 different modes of reciting the Quran.
What do you mean by modes?
We don't know.
Yeah.
No scholar knows what Aruth is.
Are you sure modes wasn't the dialect?
No, because there's a hadith where Umar and Hisham, they hear each other reciting it differently, and they're from the same tribe of Quraysh. And one of them drags the other to Muhammad. He's reciting Surah Al-Furqan, and he says, recite it. So one of them recited to Muhammad, Muhammad said, okay. The other one recited to Muhammad, Muhammad said, okay. And he said, you're both correct. Both of these are part of the Quran, because the Quran has been revealed in 7 different aruf, 7 different modes.
But they're from the same tribe. So 2 people from Quraysh
would have spoken on the same thing.
It can't be dialectical.
And enough, I mean...
That's his point, though, that it's not a dialectical difference.
It's a serious difference. Because he dragged him by his neck, because he thought he had said something in error. Also, I could quote Arabic scholars who are Muslim who agree with what I'm saying. Dr. Yassin Dutton, he's written an academic paper about this, and he says, look, because of hadith like this that is authentic, we can't say it's just dialects. There's some difference in meaning going on here, but because the hadith of the Sunnah never expands on what the aruf are, we don't know on all the places that they differ. So to be honest with you, because Uthman standard, you know Uthman, he compiled the Quran, burn all the ones, right? Because he made one copy. I think that only 1 out of the 7 Aruf have survived.
Him and other Sahaba, other companions that all learned about the Quran, all came together, and all came on agreed upon.
No, because we know that's not true, because Abdullah ibn Masud and Ubay ibn Ka'b were not invited to the committee, even though Muhammad said that if you are to take the Quran, take it from them.
Abdullah Abbas.
Abdullah ibn Masud and Ubay ibn Ka'b, and there were 2 others you mentioned as well.
But Abdullah Abbas, he was also, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered Sahaba to learn under him.
That's fine, but my point is that he named 2 other people who were not invited to this committee, and we even know that they had different codexes. We know that Ubay ibn Ka'b had 116 surahs in his codex. We know Abdullah ibn Masud had 111.
All of this is found in the hadith.
Huh?
All of this information found in the hadith about the codexes and the numbers.
Oh yeah, it comes from Islamic history. Like early scholars talked about this, they knew about it. Like they actually condemned this. Like Abdullah ibn Masud's codex is condemned.
Was it before Uthman burned it or after?
At the same time.
At the same time.
This is why, in all honesty, I don't think that he was invited, because how do you have agreement with someone who has different surahs? You can find scholarship on this. Sean W. Anthony, who's a scholar on this, wrote a paper about this, and he argues that the early Sahaba used to recite these 2 extra surahs that Ubay ibn Ka'b had as part of their prayers.
What surahs? Do you know the names?
We do know the names, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they were basically Surah 115 and 116. I can bring that academic paper up for you, we can go through it.
Well, yeah, I will look into it. I'm not too learned about this. I didn't know about the Qira'ah. There's different dialects. Which are
They're not dialects. Like the way that you pronounce it is more like tajweed. It's not.
Tajweed is like the way, you know, like
Yeah,
singing,
because different Qira'ah have different tajweed, but they're not the same thing. But with Qira'ah, it just means reading or recitation. That's what it means, how you recite. But people recite slightly differently on what is called the ayahs of disagreement. Islamic scholars had a term for this. There are certain ayahs that are not fully agreed upon exactly how they should be recited.
Well, ayahs that are recited today.
Yeah, this is why you have the Hafs reading, the Rosh reading, and that's just coming from Asim. You go outside of Asim, you have Ibn Kathir, you have others who recite it differently in different places. Now, it's not like a massive difference. If you read it, most of the time, it's just things like you or they, or past tense or present tense, or
There's some in brackets. For example,
yeah, the stuff in
are you Muhammad in brackets?
yeah, no, it's not. A lot of it's not actually there. Well, Muhammad is only mentioned concretely 4 times in the Quran.
Yeah, by name.
And then, yeah, by name. And then there's another reference. Yeah, I know you'd think that. I would doubt that personally. I think it's very problematic that Muhammad is only mentioned by name 4 times, especially since he is the one that has the recitation. It would seem like Allah would surely mention his name more, since he does about Jesus and he does about Maryam.
When Muhammad only mentioned 4 times, he's supposed to be like the main prophet. Maybe I don't know why personally why it's only 4 times, but it goes to show that the Quran isn't really about Muhammad. It's about
Maybe it wasn't really about Muhammad to begin with, but it was redacted onto someone called Muhammad. Well, the problem I have is that there are many people called Muhammad. Like Muhammad isn't a name; it's a title. It means the praised one or the blessed one. So
that's what his name means.
Huh?
That's what his name means, man.
Yeah. If you take out the vowels, because again, when they were writing at this point, they weren't writing with vowels, so it would have been MHMD, and most people would have thought you would pronounce it as Mahmed. But the title just means the praised one or the blessed one, which is why back then it would have been appropriate to call Isa Mahmed, the blessed one, the praised one. Think of it this way: the earliest inscriptions on the Dome of the Rock don't have Mahmed there. The earliest inscriptions on the Dome of the Rock, they don't have Mahmed. They have very little direct reference to these things. Yeah, the Dome of the Rock, which was built. Good to see you, brother. How are you?
Are we gonna have chicken later?
No. Oh, no, we're not gonna have chicken later. I know, I'm afraid.
See, I follow.
Yeah, you proved it. So there are problems. Every tradition about Jerusalem is also applied to Mecca, even though we have very little, if not really any, evidence of Mecca, at least not being as it's described in the traditions. The traditions say that Mecca was a city of trade. We know from critical scholarship it wasn't, because first of all, the vegetation doesn't allow it to be, basically. Like there's no area in Mecca where you would grow enough of anything to be a center of trade.
Trade is more diverse than just crops and stuff. Trade is like materials, silk.
Yeah, but they didn't. Again, the size of Mecca as a city, the population was very small. It's not. I mean, remember though, according to the traditions, Mecca was arguably the first city. It's the mother of all cities. It's the mother of all cities.
Okay.
Yeah, because Adam was there at the time of Mecca, and then Abraham, and then Ishmael and Hagar, they rebuilt the Kaaba in Mecca. So it's the mother of all cities, but the mother of all cities is a title that the Jews would have understood for Jerusalem. You know what the Jews did? You know the word Hajj?
Yeah.
The word Hajj, largely scholars argue it comes from a Hebrew word, which is spelled H-A-G-G, basically. Because the Jews also had pilgrimage. It wasn't the same thing exactly because they went there 3 times a year. But you know when they went there, do you know what they did? They sacrificed animals, and when they got there, a lot of them shaved their heads. And you know they also went around the temple, and you know which way they went around? Yeah, they went anti-clockwise.
I don't know that.
And funny enough, all these you know Safa and Marwa?
Yeah.
The term Marwa is probably coming from the term Moriah, which is from Mount Moriah is the hill or the mount in which the temple is in Jerusalem. And then you have Safa, which largely comes from what most people think of refer to as Mount Scopus, which is a mount just opposite Marwa in Jerusalem. 2 mounts. And do you know what's in the middle? A valley. And it's called the Kidron Valley, which the Jews understood to be the place where the Day of Judgment happens.
Do they do that today? Do they circulate?
It's still there. I don't know if the tradition is still followed, but it was at the time of Muhammad and before. The issue I have is that all the traditions you can think of that you apply to the place of the Kaaba, they already existed at Jerusalem. It's almost as if it's been... I mean, how many times is Mecca mentioned in the Quran?
I don't know.
Concretely, once.
Is it mentioned in the Bible a lot of times? Like Becca, fine.
Yeah, so Becca is... that's another problem. Becca is mentioned in the Quran, but Becca is also the place of an area very close to Jerusalem.
So you're not talking about the Mecca?
Well, you can make that argument, but why would you even do that? All of the evidence says it's Jerusalem. You've got Safa and Marwa there, you've got all the traditions of Hajj there, like everything's already there. Okay, so the Quran describes supposedly Mecca as a place of the standing place of Abraham.
Yeah.
The standard place of Abraham is a Jewish term to where Abraham stood when he was sacrificing his son. Where did he do that? Mount Moriah. So even
in the Bible or in the Quran?
I think the Quran's, in all honesty, describing the same place, because all these traditions they all match with Jerusalem, and this is what critical scholars are coming up with. You know, it's becoming more and more harder to argue for the traditional narrative. I mean, we know Mecca isn't referenced until like the 8th century, the early 8th century. Do you know where the Qibla, the face of direction for prayer?
Yeah, it used to be Jerusalem, that changed.
Do you know, we've looked, people have gone to all the earliest mosques and looked at the archaeology and found out where the earliest Qiblas were pointing towards. Do you know where the earliest ones point to? Sorry. A place called Petra.
Oh, I've heard this before.
It's Dan Gibson's work.
I've heard it before, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the whole documentary about it.
So they go to Petra, they all point to Petra, and then they start to like either go to Jerusalem or to Mecca.
Yeah.
And then eventually after like 750 onwards, then they all start to point to Mecca.
I've watched the documentary about it. I love the documentary with Giant Grasses.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people have known about it.
Well, as far as I'm aware, it's largely unchallenged.
Is it?
I mean, think about it. What could he have failed to do if he went there personally to all of the oldest sites archaeologically, asked the Muslims there, where is the oldest Qibla? They went, there it is. He then does a scientific test to figure out the direction it's pointing, and they all of the earliest ones point to. Keep in mind, that's all of them. So one's in North Africa, one's in Egypt, one's closer to India, one's even going as far as China,
I've seen the whole.
and they all point to Petra.
I've seen the whole documentary about that. And I'm pretty sure Mansour like debunked that.
No, I don't think he has. I would love to see it if he has, but
I think it's on the internet. Have you seen it? Mansour was speaking to some kind of name, American guy. Another name. No, not cool. That was the glasses. Have you seen him before?
great hair.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
You're talking about Dr. J. Smith, I think.
Yeah. I think you're talking about that. And had a debate with him about that.
Yeah, they used to debate here a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
I remember saying that, and he pretty much answered all the points that he made about it. About Petra being the first Qibla.
well, that usually comes on Islamic Awareness website. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But there's a lot of things on the Islamic Awareness website that I think are very, very poor. So, for example, they tried to refute the claim that we don't have a first century Quran. I mean, first century is AH, so after Hijrah. And the way that Mansour and his team try to refute that is they combined all of the known manuscripts in like parcel. So like one manuscript has Surah 19, one manuscript has Surah 21, and he took like a ton of them. And he went, if you combine them all together, then you get roughly 95%. But the problem is that a lot of those manuscripts aren't dated to the 1st century. No, a lot of them are dated to the 2nd or even 3rd. He's taking a very early date to try to get that. So, I mean, things like that I find very disingenuous. Because Dr. J. Smith has responded to that.
That's managed to check that out, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, check it out, man.
I
Yeah.
saw that one with my friend J. Smith, and
The term "the standing place of Abraham" refers to where Abraham stood as he was sacrificing his son. Why is the Quran ascribing that to Mecca?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's weird.
I mean,
Like,
to be fair, the Jews they like to discredit, like they want to discredit the Arabian Peninsula because they're now Isaac the chosen one, and they're the chosen people. So they're trying to like take Ishmael out of the equation, because the Jews they are the descendants of Isaac.
yeah.
And obviously Ishmael, according to them, Isaac was the chosen one. But
Yeah.
in this time,
The promised son.
Ishmael was the one that was going to be sacrificed, but they think with Isaac.
Yeah.
So
Fun fact, in the early Islamic exegetes, they argued about that because there were some that said it was Isaac.
Huh?
There were some that said it was Isaac.
doesn't the Quran say it was Ishmael or not? I'm sure the Quran says by name of Ishmael.
Yes, I think there's a way you can look at it that gets around it basically. But at least some early Islamic, the majority opinion does seem to be Ishmael, but there were some that said Isaac.
Ishmael in the package.
Yeah, one of the reasons why they probably thought it was Isaac is because they asked Jews, and the Jews said, yeah, it's always been Isaac. But yeah, I find the Islamic history to be very problematic. Yeah. Anyway, man, we've had a little chat now.
I'll say, I'll look into the what you say about the dialects.
Yeah. Looking at it. Looking into an article by Dr. Yassin Dutton.
Yeah?
Yassin Dutton is a Muslim academic who wrote a paper on this. He'll explain to you why it's not dialects.
Yeah, I'll look into this one. I'm sure there's more people here are more learned about it than I am.
Sure. Well, at least you're humble, man. It's good. All right, God bless you. Take care, man. Hi, guys. I had a really nice chat with a guy who I just realised I didn't get to ask his name, unfortunately. But anyway, he was a lovely guy. We had a very sincere conversation, and he did actually say he didn't know a lot of things. And I got to, okay. Nice one. Protects me from the sun. So I managed to explain to him why I think Islamic history is fundamentally flawed and Muhammad is redacted back into the traditional account. I explained how a lot of the fundamental histories, the traditions that are supposedly about Mecca are really actually about Jerusalem. The standing place of Abraham, the Jews would have understood that to be where Abraham was when he sacrificed his son Isaac, or was going to sacrifice his son Isaac. That's the standing place of Abraham. And yet the Quran describes that to Mecca. Again, why does it seem that the Quran borrows all these traditions and all these stories from the Jewish corpus? Why does it borrow them? Why does it not have its own traditions? The Hajj is the same, going around is the same, even the direction they do it in is the same. Safa and Marwa are just references to Mount Moriah and Mount Scopus, which are actual proper mounts. If you go to Mecca and you look at Safa and Marwa, it's just lots of boulders that are just piled on top of each other. And you literally walk a few minutes in a straight line, and that's how you get from one to the other. They aren't proper mounts at all in any sense. The better term for mounts is the actual Mount Moriah and Mount Scopus in Jerusalem. So I think, looking into this, a better way of understanding Islamic history is to understand it through the perspective of Arab tribes that had a relation, an alliance with some kind of Judo-Nazarene group, because they obviously understood some basics of Jewish history along with Christian history. They affirmed the Messiah, the Isa, as the supposed Messiah in their understanding, although they don't understand what Messiah is, but they were unable to fully reconcile it with the imperial church. And this is why you get the verses like Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayah 116. They say, hey, don't say 3 and so on and so forth. It's because they are against a form of Christology that is not in favor of the imperial church or the Orthodox Church or the Oriental Church, but rather it is a Nestorian or some form of monophysite perspective. Anyway, that'll be it for me. God bless you all. I hope you're already a Christian. If you're not a Christian, today is the day to become a Christian. You can email me at christianspeakerscorner@gmail.com if you have any questions about the faith. God bless you all. Have a great day.